Okay, so you're listening because you want to get smart fast. You want those aha moments, right? But without feeling like your brain's just done 10 rounds.
Exactly. And that's what we're doing today.
We're diving deep into, well, something huge, happiness, and, how this amazing thing between our ears actually works to find it.
Yeah, we've got this really interesting manual. It's aimed at uh, almost everyone, teens, adults, teachers, even athletes.
Mm.
And it really gets to the heart of what makes us tick.
Okay.
And the main idea really is that happiness isn't just like luck. It's tied into understanding ourselves, how our minds function, and crucially, that we maybe have more control than we think.
Right. So it's not just feel-good quotes then. This sounds like it gets into the mechanics of it.
It really does.
That's how it covers a lot. These 4 laws of happiness: optimism, pessimism, self-esteem, stress, technology, how that all plays in.
Yeah, and the basic human needs, too, the things that drive us. Plus, it goes kind of under the hood of the mind itself.
Mm-hmm.
There's this great analogy, Bart and Lisa, for how we think. It talks about flow, that state of being totally absorbed,
Oh, yeah, flow. I've heard of that.
and priming, context, how our thoughts get subtly shaped.
Mm.
Intuition, too, and the big one, neuroplasticity, the idea that our brains can actually change.
Okay, that sounds like a lot, but in a good way. So, for everyone listening, we're basically distilling all that down, pulling out the key bits, the surprising stuff,
Exactly, the practical takeaways, things you can actually think about using without getting totally buried in information.
sparking some curiosity, maybe?
Hopefully, kicking off some personal exploration.
All right, let's jump in. This Bart and Lisa thing you mentioned, tell me about that.
Okay, so the manual uses this to explain like 2 systems in our brain. BART is the fast one. Gut reaction, intuition, very emotional.
The impulsive one?
Yeah, you could say that. Quick to react, prone to biases. It's where those immediate feelings come from, sometimes before we've really processed things.
Okay, give me an example. Bart in action.
Sure. Say you text someone and they don't reply right away. Bart might immediately jump to, oh, they're mad at me, or I said something wrong. It's fast, emotional, maybe not based on all the facts.
Right, I recognize that feeling. So if Bart's the quick draw emotional one, who's Lisa?
Lisa is the slower, more rational part. She's the one who does the conscious thinking, the analysis. She looks at things logically.
The grown up in the room?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Lisa's job is often to monitor Bart's impulses and sometimes step in and say, hang on a second.
So Bart shouts, "They're ignoring me." And Lisa pipes up with, "Or maybe they're just busy."
Exactly that. Lisa provides the reasoned perspective, overrides that initial jump. And what's really interesting is how our past experiences shape Bart.
How so?
Well, the manual points out if you grew up with, say, a lot of criticism, your Bart might learn to interpret things more negatively by default.
Mm.
Even neutral comments might feel critical.
Wow, okay. So Bart learns patterns early on.
Yeah, those become his go-to interpretations.
So just knowing about this Bart and Lisa dynamic, that's kind of the first step, right? Recognizing which one is driving the bus at any given moment.
Precisely. Knowing when it's maybe Bart overreacting
Yeah.
and when you need to consciously engage Lisa, it's about finding a better balance between them.
Makes sense. Okay, let's shift gears. Attention. The manual calls it a limited resource and mentioned this attentional blink. What's that about? Sounds like our focus hiccups.
Huh, yeah, that's a good way to think about it. It's this very brief moment right after you've focused hard on one thing where you're actually less likely to notice a second thing if it comes immediately after.
Really?
Yeah. It's like your brain's processing system needs a tiny reset time after locking onto something, like trying to spot 2 quick flashes you might see the first, but miss the second if it's too close.
Okay, so our attention isn't just limited, it can actually blank out momentarily. So where does flow fit in then? That sounds like the opposite, like super focus.
Exactly. Flow, Csikszentmihalyi's concept, right? It's that state of being completely immersed in something. Total absorption.
Yeah.
It's got this intense focus, but also this feeling of enjoyment in the activity itself. He called it autotelic,
Autotelic, meaning?
meaning the activity is its own reward. You're doing it just for the sake of doing it, not for some external prize.
Ah, okay.
And you're in that sweet spot. The challenge matches your skill level. Not too easy, not too
A
hard.
Goldilocks zone.
Right. And time perception gets distorted. It can fly by or
Yeah.
feel like it slows right down. Actions feel almost automatic.
That sounds amazing. How do we get more of that? How do we, encourage flow?
Well, the manual suggests a few things. Clear goals are key.
Mm-hmm.
You need to know what you're aiming for.
Right.
That challenge skill balance we mentioned is crucial. And focused attention,
Mhm.
really directing your mental energy, being present. blocking out distractions.
So set a clear goal, find the right level of challenge, and then really try to concentrate. Okay. Now, you also mentioned priming and context affecting our thoughts. Oh. That sounds a bit sneaky, like our minds are easily swayed.
They can be, yeah.
Mm.
Priming is fascinating. Just being exposed to certain words or ideas or even like images can unconsciously nudge your mood or your thoughts in a particular direction.
Without you realizing.
Often, yes.
Yeah.
Very subtly.
Can you give an example? It's a bit abstract.
Okay. Studies have shown, for instance, if you subtly expose people to words related to old age, they might actually walk slightly slower afterwards.
Yeah.
Or hearing positive words before meeting someone.
Ah, like the example you gave earlier, overhearing someone is friendly.
Exactly. It sets a subtle expectation.
Yeah.
It primes you to maybe look for friendly cues.
Wow. Okay. And context. How does that fit in?
Context is huge for perception and memory. The manual talks about the halo effect.
Right, like if someone makes a great first impression.
Yeah. If you think someone's, say, really warm and friendly initially, that positive halo can make you judge their other qualities like intelligence or competence more positively too, even if they're unrelated.
Because our brains like things to be consistent. Bart wants a simple story.
Pretty much. Bart likes coherence. But the good news is, the manual says awareness helps. Just knowing about priming can reduce its power.
Okay, so being mindful helps.
Definitely. And context affects memory retrieval, too. You remember things better in the place you learned them.
Uh-huh.
Or, seeing someone familiar in a totally weird place, like your dentist at a music festival. It takes your brain a second to place them because the context is wrong.
Yeah, the brain goes, does not compute for a moment. Okay, so our minds are suggestible. What about intuition then? The manual seems to say it's not just a vague feeling.
Right, it makes a key distinction. Intuition, in this view, isn't mystical. It's pattern recognition.
Pattern recognition.
Yeah, based on loads of experience. When you've seen similar situations many, many times, your brain, Bart, really starts picking up on subtle cues and patterns unconsciously.
Oh.
It's that expert's gut feeling.
So it's like your brain's running a super fast database search based on past experiences.
That's a great way to put it. But it highlights that you need that database. You need the accumulated experience to build reliable intuition.
You can't just intuit things you know nothing about.
Exactly. And you need focused attention while gaining that experience to actually learn the patterns properly in the first place. You have to pay attention to the details along the way.
Okay, so experience plus attention builds intuition. Got it. Now, let's talk about something really hopeful. Neuroplasticity. This idea that we're not just stuck.
Yes, this is huge. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to change, to reorganize itself throughout life. That old idea that your brain is fixed by adulthood, just not true.
Seriously, so we can actually rewire ourselves.
We can. Our experiences, our learning, our choices, they all physically change our neural connections. The manual calls deliberate practice intentional exercise.
Intentional exercise for the brain.
Exactly. And when you do that with focused attention, you literally forge new pathways. And chemicals like dopamine for motivation, reward, and endorphins for pleasure help reinforce those new pathways.
So learning a new skill or changing a habit actually rewires the brain, and then dopamine gives you a little boost to keep doing it.
That's the mechanism, yeah. But, and this is important, the manual stresses it's a personal choice. You have to decide to change. You need that deep internal commitment to put in the effort.
Right. The brain can change, but you have to initiate it and stick with it.
Precisely. No one can do it for you.
Okay. Now, those 4 laws of happiness you mentioned earlier, they sounded quite simple.
They are, deceptively so. But quite profound, I think. Law 1, enjoy what you like.
Okay, sounds good.
Law 2, avoid what you don't like.
Logical.
Law 3, if you can't avoid it, transform it. Change your approach, your perspective, something.
Okay. Find a way to make it bearable or even positive.
Yeah. And Law 4, the crucial one. If you can't avoid it and you can't transform it, then accept it. But, and this is key, the manual adds, for a set period.
Oh, I like that addition. It's not resignation forever.
Exactly. It's temporary acceptance. A strategy to cope without getting stuck or overwhelmed by something you genuinely can't change right now.
That's really practical. Okay, another big piece. Self-esteem. The manual says it fluctuates. It's not just fixed.
Right. It's not like a permanent trait you either have or don't. It's more like a component of our well-being that goes up and down, and it really colors how we see ourselves, our abilities, our successes, our failures.
So if it's low, what happens?
Well, low self-esteem can make us avoid challenges because we're afraid to fail. We doubt ourselves more. It's harder to bounce back from setbacks. We might even dismiss our successes, attribute them to luck instead of our own effort.
Yeah, the inner critic gets really loud. So how can we work on it, according to the manual?
It emphasizes that it's not permanent. So look at the specific situations where it dips, and then examine your negative thoughts around it. Ask, what's the perceived cause? Am I blaming myself entirely? What's the perceived duration? Is this temporary or forever? And what's the perceived scope? Does this one failure mean I'm worthless overall?
So challenge those automatic negative thoughts.
Exactly. Reframe them. Maybe it wasn't all your fault. Maybe it's just a temporary setback. Maybe this one area doesn't define your whole self. It's about cultivating a more balanced, realistic view. Lisa challenging Bart's negativity again.
It keeps coming back to that.
Doesn't it? It
Yeah.
really does. The manual even suggests small things, like wearing clothes that make you feel good. It's about consciously managing that self-perception.
Right. Okay, one last big topic it seems to cover, and it's super relevant: technology. It raises some concerns.
It does, yeah. Particularly for younger people growing up immersed in it, one big thing is just navigating the sheer volume of information, discerning what's reliable from what's not. It's a real challenge.
Information overload, basically. And maybe hard to tell good info from bad.
Exactly. And then there's memory. The manual suggests if we know we can always look things up, maybe we don't put in the effort to actually remember them deeply.
Outsource our memory to Google.
Kind of. And it might encourage more superficial browsing, skimming lots of things, instead of really digging into one topic, like information snacking.
Snacking instead of having a proper meal.
Right. And the connection paradox, too. Technology promises connection, but can sometimes lead to isolation, even when people are physically together.
Yeah, everyone on their phones at the dinner table.
Uh-huh. And it mentions synthetic emotions, getting used to maybe simpler, less nuanced emotional exchanges online, which might lower our expectations for real-life relationships.
That's a bit sobering.
And it can crowd out time for just being alone with your thoughts, you know? Introspection. We're always reachable, always potentially on.
No time for quiet reflection.
Yeah. And maybe it affects developing empathy, too, navigating those complex, face-to-face emotional cues. Plus, of course, the addictive potential of some online stuff and its impact on self-control.
So the message is basically, be mindful about it. Use it intentionally.
Exactly. Be the master of the tech, not the other way around. Ensure it serves your well-being.
Okay, so after covering all that, the mind, attention, happiness laws, tech court, how does the manual kind of wrap things up? What's the ultimate foundation?
It really comes down to love, specifically self-love.
Self-love is the foundation for happiness.
Yeah. It argues that having that fundamental self-acceptance and care is essential for actually recognizing and appreciating the good things in life, and for building resilience against the bad stuff, against those negative self-perceptions.
If you don't value yourself, it's hard to accept good things or bounce back from bad.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It also makes this interesting point that sometimes our really strong negative reactions to other people
Yeah.
might actually be reflecting parts of ourselves we haven't accepted.
Ooh, like the things that push our buttons in others are things we don't like or see in ourselves.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
So working on self-acceptance, self-love,
Yeah.
that's presented as the real bedrock.
Wow. Okay, that was definitely a deep dive. We've hit on so much. The Bart and Lisa dynamic, the power of attention and getting into flow.
Right, how priming and context shape us. Intuition being built on experience, the hope of neuroplasticity,
Those 4 laws of happiness: managing self-esteem, thinking critically about tech.
and landing on self-love as that core element. Hopefully everyone listening got some of those aha moments we talked about, some useful nuggets.
Absolutely. So here's something to maybe chew on after this. Thinking about that dance between your own Bart and Lisa. What's maybe one small thing you could consciously do today? Maybe tweak your environment or shift your focus just slightly to nudge things in a more positive direction. How can understanding these inner workings empower you more in your own happiness journey?
That's a great question to sit with. Well, thank you for joining us on this exploration. We hope you keep digging into these ideas.
Yeah, thanks for diving deep with us today. Until next time.